This is the Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. Actionable advice from real-life superheroes who, just like you, are in relentless pursuit of the best version of themselves. Join me as I interview the best of the best in business, sports, and life. Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget, special edition, special Sacramento Kings edition, talking about the first two games of this playoff run the Sacramento Kings are having in 2023. After 17 long years of having a drought, we're in the playoffs. We've started 2-0 against the Golden State Warriors. So I'm going to tell you about the game. I'm going to tell you about my personal experience as a fan, having my whole family there for game one, me and my oldest son being there for game two, talk a little bit about that and how that felt emotionally, talk about the game specific to what the players did, and then get better everyday fashion. Just talk about how the Kings made it this far, right? How they've gotten better every day to be where they're at today. So let's start first and foremost with a little bit of history on how I became such a big fan of the Sacramento Kings. Born and raised in Sacramento, I was born in 1980. The Sacramento Kings came to Sacramento from Kansas City in 1985. So as a young, impressionable boy who did boy things, right? Like G.I. Joes in the dirt, played sports, all that stuff. It was cool to have a professional sports team in town for, we're not a cow town, but for a, smaller market like Sacramento. And so my grandmother got tickets, and I believe she got them through work. And we sat way in the upper deck, but those are memories that I'll never forget, going to Sacramento Kings games with my grandma. I had a PE teacher that brought me to a couple of games. She was a huge fan. I'm going to tell you a really cool story about the emotion that she felt during game two, being there in the arena after following this team for 3.5, I guess almost 4 decades now in Sacramento. I've got pictures standing in front of Rayleigh's it must have been 86, 87, because I must have only been 6 or 7 years old, waiting for an autograph from one, somebody who sat on the Kings bench, and two, a team that was, in Charles Barkley's words, terrible, right? Weren't a good team, but we loved the Sacramento Kings nonetheless. And this whole story about the Sacramento Kings playoff run and the fan support through thick and thin, and it's been a lot more thin, Sacramento Kings fans have shown up and shown out. I think that was actually the quote from one of the Kings players, might have been Fox in game one, that Sacramento Kings fans showed out. And we always have, right? We've always loved this team, supported this team, even when this team wasn't great. So game one on Saturday, we go out there and win a close one, 126-123. Harrison Barnes said something in an interview where the energy was incredible all night. When guys ran out for layup lines with how loud it got in here, I think everyone got chills. And I can tell you, I looked left to my wife, and I had my wife and my 2 boys there with me. And I had tears in my eyes. I got teary-eyed like I'm getting right now, because when you root so hard for a team for so long, and I was in my early 20s when we had that last run between 02 and 06 and a good team, it just was emotional. And I don't even know how to describe it, right? Where you root for a team, and it's overwhelming sense of joy to see the team that you've rooted for. And it's, an underdog story in some senses. And that's why it fits in with the Get Better Every Day, podcast, is because this is probably, in my eyes at least, a representation of people in general who continue to show up, continue to fight, continue to get better every day. And it makes the success, the victories, so much sweeter when you get there. So sweet that you got fans like me, grown men, crying in their seats because I'm so elated to see this team out there in the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. And then, she pans to me on a video she takes after the game, and seeing the woman I love filming me, filming the celebratory win, hugged my son, kissed him on the head, put my hand on my face. When I rewatched the video, I realized it was another emotional moment. So enough about me and how sensitive of a guy I am. Great to see the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs. So real quick recap of what happened in the games. We didn't play our best game. Our starters in game one didn't make a 3-point bucket until the third quarter. And we didn't shoot particularly well. We shot 39% in the first half. We're only down 6. And that's a theme in the second game too, where we played better. Less turnovers than, we added a lot of turnovers, but we played better and didn't have our best shooting performances, but played excellent D and whatnot. And that kept us in the game. If, we find a way to execute on defense like we have and start clicking and having some of these shots fall down on offense, oh boy, we might just be able to sweep these Warriors. And I'm not going to get too crazy because I know we're still playing the defending champs, and I know those were 2 wins at home that we should have got, but nonetheless, sweet. So, we're down 6 at half, and we go down by 10 in the third quarter. And as much energy and as wild as it was and whatnot there, I found myself quiet. And I looked over to my 14-year-old son, who's a huge Kings fan. He was quiet. We were nervous, right? Kings end up going on a 15-4 run. And Trey Lyles was knocking down buckets. So we go up 91-90 going into the fourth. And this is a Sacramento Kings team that, generally speaking, hasn't closed games strong in years past. I noticed it during the regular season this year. We are actually a team that down the stretch plays good. And we showed it here. We played good down the stretch. We outplayed them down the stretch and clawed our way back in, took that lead. Steph hits a 3 to put them up 2 with about 4 minutes left. Then the Kings go on a little run, scoring 7 straight. And so it was a really competitive, really close game. At the end, Andrew Wiggins had a wide open 3 in the corner that he missed. And that one was, it was a shot that he probably makes 50% of the time. And so very close game. We end up winning by 3. The crowd goes wild. The energy, I probably didn't give it enough justice, but we got there an hour early. It was packed. Outside, there's a watch party. Inside, even an hour before, the energy was wild. And then it kind of built up. Had all the fans put on the white shirts so that, it was a sea of white shirts cheering like crazy with the little foam beams that were handed out to everybody. And like Harrison Barnes mentioned, like I mentioned, they came out for warmups. The crowd erupted. When they did introductions, the crowd erupted. It was an experience. And I'm so glad I got to share it with the whole family. It was top 10 family experience of my life. Top 10 experience of my life. And it was great that I got to share it with my family. So that was amazing. Game 2, 2 nights later, me and my eldest son, who is huge basketball nut, went, the 2 of us, same great Sacramento energy. And to all the Warriors fans that were talking about how they're going to, be filling the stands with blue and gold, I don't know where you guys were at, but we probably had 90+% Kings fans. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think it was like 8 to 10 Warriors fans per section. And I'll give Warriors fans this: respectful. Sure, there were some people mouthing off and all that, but like the fans in our section, we were talking a little smack, playful banter. They were talking smack back. I got a dap, a good game, and all that from the Warriors fan that was a couple sections ahead of us. So it was. And then in game one, we had guys behind us where I said, I can't hate Steph Curry. The guy's a legend. The guy's amazing. And so, in that respect, I think there was some good sportsmanship in the stands. When we talk about game two, we're going to talk about our boy Draymond and how his sportsmanship probably could have been a little bit better. And we'll talk about the suspension and all that stuff too. But real quick, as far as the game goes, we get off to a sloppy start. The Warriors get off to a sloppy start. They're known for committing turnovers. In this series, if we can limit ours and continue to ratchet up the pressure and force them to turn over, we're going to win this series. I think it was 9 turnovers each. So 18 turnovers between the two teams in the first quarter in game two. Not good. Kings started off relatively cold. Well, more than relative, right? We missed our first 11 3-pointers. And my son's friends are texting him 0 for 7, 0 for 8, continuing to, pour salt. We got the last laugh, though, right? Curry doing Curry things. This is what has been probably the biggest surprise for me as a Kings fan, is how good of defense we've played. Curry is an amazing basketball player. He's going to do what he does. To score the 28 points that he scored in game two, he had to shoot 13 3-pointers and only make 3 of them, right? And so we limited a legend to only 28 points. We also forced 22 turnovers from the Warriors. So I think if I were to point to one thing that won us game two, it would be our ability to stop Steph and really the whole team and force turnovers. I forgot to mention this, and I'm a one take, no edits type of guy. Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox in game one were incredible. A combined 70 points. De'Aaron scored 38. Malik scored 32. 38 was the second highest for a first-time appearance from a point guard ever, I think. Luka scored 43, if I remember the stat correctly. And so those guys were incredible. De'Aaron Fox is obviously just an all-star, an MVP in the making, and it's really cool to see him shine in the playoffs. Was such a clutch player for us all year. And, to come out in his very first playoff experience, no nerves, no jitters. I think he scored 9 in the first half. So he had 29 of those points in the second half. He just had to get a feel for what playoff basketball felt like. A little bit more physical, right? And so that's the quick have to give acknowledgement to that. So game two, we come out and we're shooting flat again. I think we scored, let me see the box. Where's the box score? Where did I have it? Yeah, game two was where we scored 17 points in the first quarter. We looked not so great. Malik Monk comes out in the second, hits 3 threes in the first couple minutes. We score 41 in the second quarter. The crowd comes alive. We're going crazy. And I'm having this, oh my gosh, moment where I'm like, this is for real. This team is for real. The Warriors are on their heels the whole time. We're pressing, we're pushing, we're playing great Sacramento Kings basketball. And I think that I had an epiphany, probably some Warriors had an epiphany that like, we might just knock the defending champions out in round one. That for me happened in quarter two of game two, where I was like, not only is it like, hey, we can play with these guys, we got a chance, but it was like, if we play this basketball and this defense, we're not even playing our best basketball because the shots weren't falling. The first 11 threes didn't go down, and they were good looks. We are going to beat this team and root for the Lakers to beat Memphis so we can smack them up in round 2. But it got real. And so, without making this video too long, we go up. What was that? 41 points. We were down 6 in the first. Then we outscored them by 12 in the second. So we're up 6 at half. There was these reports that the crowd wasn't as loud in game 2. Instead of the white shirts, we had little white towels. And I've got some videos of those white towels just being waved. My son's hit me in the face. It was wild, great energy again in game 2. Steve Kerr talked about like us playing better than them down the stretch. Again, right? Sacramento Kings team that my memories as a Kings fan is us blowing leads in the fourth quarter. And now we're winning those close games. For me, it's incredible. It's incredible to follow. It's incredible to be there. And I think more than anything, besides all the stats and all the, the experience for Kings fans who have lived through all those years, to me, is the most special part. I told you earlier, I'm going to share something to me that was the most memorable part of game 2. And it's nothing to do with the game. It's bigger than basketball sometimes. And I'm going to get choked up because Miss Pam, who I spoke about, was my PE teacher in elementary school. Huge Kings fan. Took me to games. She was a professional cyclist who got in an accident in 1984 that left her paralyzed. And when I saw her and my son goes, "There's Miss Pam," leaving game 1. She was there for the watch party. We had a moment of, rooting for this team. She was so excited. She texted me and said, "You only live once. I'm going to go to game 2." And so she went to game 2. During game 2, me and my son went. We said hello, hugs, pictures. And I go back to my seat. Really great relationship, not just through elementary school as my PE teacher who was so inspirational, teaching us to get better every day, encouraging us, having an impact on thousands of kids. Although she could no longer do the things that she did before as an athlete, she was able to encourage others. My sons went to the same elementary school I did where she's still at, coming up on 40 years as a PE teacher there. She sent me a text, and I think it was the fourth quarter, because I'm looking at it right now. It was 9:38 on Monday. "Oh man, I love this energy. I forgot how much I used to live for this. The Kings got me through the beginning of my paralysis. I feel so alive tonight." To me, that is bigger than basketball. That is a testament to what this team means to the community. For me, this one's really personal and it's really emotional because I know the person behind the message. And to say that this team got me through the beginning of my paralysis, somebody who went from an athlete to paralyzed in a tragic accident, didn't let it stop her from having impact on thousands of people, helping others get better every day. And when I look at it, you can look at it as tragic, or you can look at it as meant to be, to impact thousands and thousands of kids that have came through Bancroft Elementary. To me, I think there's a lot of stories like that
There's a lot of Carmichael Daves who get emotional talking about going to games with their dad and then taking their kids and thinking about their kids taking their kids. I've got pictures of my oldest son when he was 5 and 6 at Arco Arena. And then, in the new arena. My youngest son has been going to games since he was 3.5. Basketball's fun to watch. Sports are fun to follow. It's cool to have a team to root for. But it's more than that. It's an experience that you share with the people that you love. It's an experience that, for my good friend, Miss Pam, makes her feel alive. So with that, I'm going to conclude the podcast. Go Sacramento Kings. Go Sacramento. Thanks for listening.